Have you ever stopped to think about the difference between classroom English and the English you actually need when life throws a curveball at you?
Oh, absolutely. It's the classic nightmare. You spend years memorizing grammar tables. You know your irregular verbs perfectly, but then, bam! You're in a situation where the clock is ticking, emotions are high, and suddenly the textbook goes out the window.
Exactly. It's that freeze response. And today, we are diving deep into that exact gap. We're looking at a collection of scenarios, real, high stakes, and sometimes mundane daily interactions that act as the ultimate test for language learners. We're talking about everything from navigating a car accident to surviving a job interview.
And what's fascinating about the material we're looking at today is that it's not just about vocabulary. It's about the script of society. How do you handle conflict? How do you negotiate? How do you show empathy? These are the layers we often miss when we're just focused on syntax.
Right. Let's start with something intense. One of the scenarios we're analyzing involves a hit-and-run accident. Now imagine the stress levels there. You've just been hit. Your adrenaline is spiking.
And you have to communicate clearly. In the example, the driver didn't just say, "I crashed." They had to be incredibly specific. A black four-door car with tinted windows. They even identified the make, an Audi, because of the four silver circles.
That detail is crucial. It shows that fluency isn't just about expression. It's about observation translated into words. If you can't recall the word for tinted windows or license plate in that split second, you're in trouble. It's functional survival.
Precisely. And notice the flow of information required by the police or the other party. They ask for the make and model, the location, corner of Market Street and University. It's a structured interaction. If you haven't practiced that specific narrative structure, you'll stumble. It's about being able to tell a linear story when your brain is scattered.
And then there's the aftermath. You have to call your boss. I was on my way to work and now I'm late. It's that ripple effect. You aren't just managing the accident, you're managing your professional reputation simultaneously.
Which actually segues perfectly into the medical scenarios. There's a vulnerability there too. We saw a case of a patient visiting a doctor, Dr. Owen. It starts with the administrative hurdle, filling out forms, insurance cards. That's the gatekeeper to care.
And the small talk. That surprised me. The patient makes a joke about their weight when the nurse asks to measure them. You can take my weight because I really need to lose some. It's a defense mechanism, right?
It is. And that's a high-level language skill, using humor to diffuse tension in a clinical setting. But look at the doctor's interaction. It's very protocol-driven. Have you been taking the medicine? Yes, and I feel better. It's a negotiation of health. The doctor decides to stop the medication based on that verbal feedback. If the patient can't articulate their improvement properly, the treatment plan might not change.
That's a scary thought. Your health outcome depends on your ability to narrate your physical state.
Alright, and it continues into lifestyle management. We looked at a gym membership negotiation. This wasn't just, "I want to exercise." It was a consumer inquiry. The customer, Charlie, asks about peak hours, busiest and slowest times. He's trying to optimize his life.
I loved the detail about the open access versus the limited membership. It's a classic sales conversation. The staff offers options: $50 for limited, $70 for full access. The learner has to process numbers, conditions, and time constraints instantly.
And asking about personal training credentials. Can I see their teaching style? That's assertive. It shows that to really live in a language, you have to be an advocate for yourself. You can't just be passive. You have to ask, what do I get for my money?
Speaking of money and mistakes, we have to talk about the workplace scenario, the pricing error. This one made me cringe in sympathy.
Oh, the typo? Typing 50 instead of 500?
Yes, that is a catastrophic mistake in a retail or business context. But let's look at how the employee, Kate, handled it. She didn't hide. She admitted, "The manager told me if I did it again, he would fire me."
It's brutal, but look at the idiom she uses, or rather, the mindset. Her colleague says, "Every cloud has a silver lining." The silver lining was that sales skyrocketed because the product was so cheap. But the real lesson here is accountability. She says, "I will do market research to compensate."
That is such a sophisticated pivot. She moves from "I messed up" to "here is my solution." In a second language, we often feel like children when we make mistakes. We want to hide, but she stepped up professionally.
And that leads directly to the job interview scenario we reviewed. That was a masterclass in the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. Mr. Scott, the candidate, didn't just say, "I'm good at customer service." He told a story.
Right, he talked about jumping ship from sales to service, then climbing the ladder. Those phrasal verbs are so important. They paint a picture of a career journey, not just a list of jobs.
And he was honest about his weaknesses. He admitted he can be repetitive, but then he framed it as something he's working on. That vulnerability, paired with the story about handling an impossible customer by letting someone else take over if needed, that shows emotional intelligence.
It really does. It strikes me that in all these scenarios, the accident, the gym, the office, the common thread is problem solving. The language is just the tool used to solve the problem.
Exactly. And sometimes the problem is just hunger or maybe social connection. We can't ignore the bakery scene. It seems low stakes, right? Buying croissants.
But it wasn't just buying bread. It was flirting with the culture. The customer asks about the secret ingredient.
And the baker plays along. Our secret is in the water temperature. Then the customer says, "I'm a regular, I deserve a tip." That is banter. That is rapport. If you walk in, point at a bagel, pay, and leave, you've completed the transaction, but you haven't connected.
And because of that connection, she got the croissants on the house.
There's the reward. The economic value of small talk. It literally paid off.
I want to shift gears to the travel scenario, the airport. Because if the bakery is about connection, the airport is about compliance and friction.
The overweight baggage, a universal traveler's trauma.
Your bag is 10 kilograms overweight. That sentence induces panic. The passenger tries to negotiate. What should I do? Put on some clothes?
Which is funny, but also a real strategy people use. The agent remains professional but firm. Pay the fee or move items to your carry-on. The passenger has to make a rapid calculation. Is it worth $70? No. Okay, I'll repack. It's a high-pressure environment where you have to understand instructions perfectly or you lose money.
And then the onboard experience, chicken or pasta. It's the cliché, but it's also the comfort of routine.
It is. But let's zoom out a bit. We've walked through all these micro moments. What does this tell us about how we should be learning? The material suggests a method based on repetition and question and answer.
Yes, the English easy practice concept. They emphasize listening to the stories repeatedly and answering questions out loud. Why is that specific approach so effective for these kinds of scenarios?
Because of the automatic factor. Remember the car accident? You don't have time to conjugate verbs in your head. You need the phrase hit and run to be loaded in your RAM, ready to fire. Repetition moves language from your explicit memory, where you have to think about it, to your implicit memory, where it's a reflex.
So, by listening to that interview dialogue 20 times, when you're actually in an interview and someone asks, "What is your weakness?" your brain doesn't panic. It recognizes the pattern.
Exactly. You're building neural pathways. The goal, as the text mentioned, is to think in English. If you are translating from your native language while a police officer is asking you about a crash, you're too slow. You're adding cognitive load that you can't afford.
It's like muscle memory in sports.
Perfect analogy. You don't think about your arm angle when you throw a ball, you just throw. You shouldn't think about the structure of "I would like to make an appointment" when you call the doctor. You should just say it.
There was one more scenario that really highlighted the social aspect of this: the New Year's Eve planning. Two students discussing exams and fireworks.
That one was interesting because it balanced anxiety with celebration. I need a good grade to pass the semester. That's the pressure. But then, let's go see the fireworks. Flying colors.
Flying colors. I love that idiom. Pass with flying colors.
It's beautiful imagery. And the interaction there was about shared experience. I have resolutions. Read more, swim more, spend more time with you. That last part, that's intimacy. Language is the vehicle for relationships. If you can't express those nuances, "I want to spend time with you," you remain isolated.
That's a profound point. We learn English to get jobs, sure. To travel, yes. But ultimately, it's to not be alone, to share a moment at a bakery, to resolve a conflict at work, to make a plan for New Year's.
And to navigate the world with dignity. Whether it's standing up for yourself when a gym contract is confusing or explaining your medical history so you can get healed, it's about agency.
So, for our listeners who are trying to bridge that gap, From the textbook to the street, what is the takeaway here?
Stop treating language like a list of facts to be memorized. Treat it like a rehearsal for a play you're starring in. Visualize yourself in that accident. Visualize yourself at that check-in counter. Speak the lines out loud.
Answer the easy question out loud, as the prompt suggested.
Yes, make your mouth do the work, not just your eyes. When you physically produce the sound, you are proving to your brain that you can survive that situation.
And don't be afraid of the silver lining moments. You might make a mistake, like the pricing error, but how you recover is where the real fluency lives.
Absolutely. Fluency isn't perfection. Fluency is recovery. It's keeping the conversation going no matter what.
That is a fantastic place to leave it. Fluency is recovery. Thank you for breaking this down with me. It really changes how I look at these simple daily dialogues.
My pleasure. It's a reminder that every conversation is a little world of its own.
Indeed. To everyone listening, keep practicing, keep repeating, and get ready for the real world. We'll see you next time.
Bye for now.